Hey everybody, it's Brian. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be installing the Proglow Custom Dynamics accent lights on my 2014 Ultra Limited. So as you may have seen in my previous video, Custom Dynamics sent me these to produce a video when these were released. This is the Proglow headlight and then the passing lights for the Harley-Davidson Ultra Limited. Today we're going to be installing these accent lights. So we're going to have the ground effects kit for underneath the motor as well as the motor kit. Now I already have the Bluetooth installer installed obviously to work the lights. So if you need tips on installing that or the headlights, I'm going to put the link in the description for the other video that covers the controller setup. But today we're going to be installing these accent lights, and I'm really excited now that riding season in New Jersey has started. See what these are going to look like. So let's get into it.
So now we're out at the bike. We're just going to take the seat off and we're going to locate the first Y adapter. It's going to be the short one, and we're going to be plugging this into channel 2. This is going to get us to the deflectors, to be able to put the small lights in the deflectors on the side of the bike. So you're going to check, make sure you've got a solid connection, and then we are just going to fish them down the sides here underneath the frame and to the deflectors. You should be able to find a pathway super easy. Now we're going to take the first set of small LEDs. We're going to put them under that deflector there, pulling off the 3M tape. You want to make sure you have a good tight press firm seal there. And you can see here, this is just a picture of the lights installed. You want to make sure that the arrows are always pointing towards the front of the bike. And you'll see why that's important later to make the lights flow properly. And then once you have it seated on there firmly, you're going to want to go ahead and just put a cap on the end. We're going to pull the slack back, and we're just going to clean up our cabling. I use zip ties to zip tie all my wires back and make it really nice and clean. So now we're going to put the first big light under the tank. Now you're going to be following the weld of the tank, and you want to make sure that the arrows are pointing forward. You'll see the weld line in the still image that I'm about to put up. But I just followed that weld line, took my time, and made sure I got these nice and seated on the tank. You want to make sure that they're back on that weld line so they're nice and hidden. So now we're just going to secure them. You're going to see this shot here of how they're right up on that engine. And the arrows are going forward to the bike. I know I'm going to keep repeating that, but it's really important. On this side of the bike, on the left side, you want to make sure that you have the loop back connector, which is going to be the end with the metal tabs. You want to secure that in there, and then you're going to want to zip tie that down. I zip tied it to the Proglow headlight cables that I ran to the controller, but any good solid mounting point, you can zip tie those in. Do it nice and clean. So now we're going to go ahead and put the light in under the bell horn. Same thing, want to make sure the arrows are pointing forward. Going to remove the 3M tape and just work it up. Now it's going to be a little tight in the center, so you're going to have to work it in. But I really didn't have a problem with it. You just want to take your time, and you do want to make sure that all these surface areas are clear. You're going to see a shot here where you can see what it's going to look like. So you can see it's right on that edge of the bell, which is going to shine down. It's also going to throw some light forward as well. And then once I had that done, I went ahead and put the cap on the end. And you just want to clean up your wiring as you're working. Now you could do this and you could wire each light directly, or you could do what I did, which was put all the lights on first and then run your wiring. I personally found that to be better for me, but like anything, there's no right or wrong answer here. So what I'm doing here is just making sure I can get the wires hidden and attached, find a good mounting point for them. And then I'm going to pull that one up, which is the one I'm going to be needing to connect to the Y connector to power it back into the main system. And here we're going to be putting on the lights on the bottom rail. You want to make sure your bottom rails are extremely clean. Obviously, they're going to be really dirty. So I took some time, used some degreaser, cleaned off the rails. You remove the 3M tape and you're going to stick them in there. Now you want to make sure that when you put these in, that you're rotating them up probably at like maybe a 5 o'clock angle. So you don't want to be flat, because if you ever had to use a jack or a lift or anything that would get up on that frame, you're going to bust your lighting. So you want to roll them in a little bit. I will say it was a little difficult. And if you'll see here, I had to pull off the back and reseat it a couple times, but I was able to get it to fit nice and hidden. It does take a few tries though. If you do find that the tape comes a little loose, if you have to reseat it, just run a zip tie on it and you'll be fine. You want to make sure you do zip tie these down at least 3 positions so they don't fall off on you. And now we're going to be doing the other side of the tank. Now this side of the tank has that hump that goes up, and you'll see in this picture. So you're going to want to put it up in the hump because the tank's actually shorter on the right hand side. And you can see here that the lights are mounted with the arrows going forward, and it's in that hump of the tank. So it's nicely hidden. Here we're going to be putting it on the air cleaner, making sure again that the arrows are going forward. I know I'm beating it like a dead horse, but it's really important for the flow of the lights to make sure you have them right. Now my air cleaner is the stock air cleaner. If you have a Screaming Eagle cleaner or something different, it's all going to depend on where you're going to have to run your cables. But this is just to show you how to do it on the stock bike. And what I did here is I actually went ahead and mounted it on the bottom and ran the cables to the right side. So where the 103 logo is, there actually is where the cables are going to come down. So I put an end cap on the cable and basically ran it back towards the front of the bike and zip tied it to keep it clean. And then I used some 3M tape to tape the cables up on the air cleaner so they don't pop out. Again, wire management is key here. You just want to take your time and find the best route that's going to hide the cables. So here we're just doing that cleanup, and as you can see, I'm bringing the connector around and connecting it to the Y connector that comes through the mid-frame of the bike. Some of this I didn't shoot of running the wires through. It's a little tedious to film, but it's going to you really want to take your time here. And what I'm doing is zip tying up the end so I have a clean sort of molded around the tank. And again, you can use 3M tape, whatever you need to do to keep that wiring in as tight as possible and hidden. And we're just going to clean up the cabling there. Now we're going to be putting the other side on for the bottoms. Again, you want to make sure you're using a degreaser, cleaning the frames off really good, taking your time, and putting these in a position that they're not completely flat. They're rolled in a little bit towards the center of the bike. That way, if you did have to use a jack, you're not going to damage your lighting. Again, you're going to want to use 3 zip ties to make sure that your lights are nice and secure should the 3M tape ever fail on you. And here what we're doing is the pro tip from Todd from Custom Dynamics. Todd, thanks again for this tip. So what I did is I undid the tank. I took a rubber door stop and I just put it in under the tank. It gives me a lot of room to work for cable management. So it's extremely important. And this is the big 44-inch cable that they're going to have you put in that connects to the first light on the side deflector there on the left. And I just ran that down, took my time. I found some anchor points underneath in the frame there behind the engine. So you just want to spool that up, take your time. You're definitely going to want to use a lot of zip ties and really take your time to make sure you have clean management and none of the wires are touching the engine or anything hot that could possibly melt them. And now we're just going to be connecting the horn with a Y connector over to the air cleaner. So again, it's just going to be about finding a clean route through the bike and then finding a point that you can zip tie and keep those cables away from anything that's hot. Again, every bike's going to be a little different. I have a 14, so this is what worked for me. Newer bikes may be a little different, and obviously other models will be a little different. Just going to work the cables through here, again, trying to find a nice clean path. And then we're going to be connecting the extenders that run to the frame mount of the lights, and I'm just going to find a good wiring point to wire through there and a good way to secure all my wiring. Again, take your time, use a lot of zip ties, make sure your cables are nice and secure so you don't have to worry about redoing it later. And once that is done, we're just going to clean up the wiring a little bit more. And now I'm connecting everything back to the main harness. So you have that large splitter, and I took some extenders. I would purchase an extender or two. I think it's always better to have more wiring than not, especially if you get stuck in an odd position. So I took some 12-inch extenders and ran them from the lights underneath the tank to the main splitter. I found it a little bit easier. It wasn't as tight. It's up to you, but I always think with cable management, it's always better to have more cabling than less. So if you are purchasing the kit, it may not be a bad idea to purchase a few extenders just in case you need them. And that's really going to be the wiring setup. So now what we're going to do is turn on the lights and show you what the lights look like on the bike. I'm really impressed with how these look. All right, so we have the lights on white. We're going to go over to red. We're going to go down to purple. Go over to blue. Go up into the bluish greens. Go up to green. We can go to purple. Go into breathe mode. Make the lights breathe. We can then go in, we'll go back to unbreathe it. We'll go back to solid on. We'll go back to white. So we're going to go back to our white. We can go into range mode where it flashes different colors. We can go into wave mode. We can go into chill mode. And we can adjust the brightness on those. We can lower it. We can increase it. And now let's do the same thing. We'll go back into our color spectrum. We're all white. Now we're down into purple. We can go over to red. Go over to yellow. Go over to green. Go over to blue. And go back to white. And we can do our themes. We can go into chill mode and make it all breathe. You can see the variance of colors matching the front. We can go into wave. Change the colors. See, that's nice and bright now. Go into chill mode. We can go into strobe mode. Then we're going to go into chase mode. We'll start with flame. We can slow flame way down. We can go into patriot mode. Go into meteor mode. Tropics mode. Go back to our solid. So we'll go back into white. Go back into purple. Go all the way around the color spectrum. Back to purple. And then back to white. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to follow along with all my motorcycle adventures. And leave a comment. Let me know what you think of these lights, if this would be something you would add for bike nights or something you'd want to add for greater visibility with your motorcycle at night. But anyway, thank you for watching, and as always, remember, you are not alone.